He'd won the latest Worlds, and he used this one, which is quite different to the way that we were sailing the boats previously. So what are you doing at the moment to set your boat up?
Just one quick question. Are you running the Australian setup?
Yeah, this is the Australian setup. Yeah.
I don't think we run the Australian setup.
Yeah, we started off not running it. Then while I was racing Etchells, he set this up. He won the Worlds with an Australian boat with this setup, and then we sort of everyone switched and started racing how he was.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so we've done both, and then we ended up sort of like our own modified version of this of what we run. But the basic concept is with the Etchell, when you get your base setting sorted, you know, and the way that I would do it if I was doing it, starting it fresh again now, is when it's really light, like 0.5 knots, sail upwind with the main sheet block to block. You know, so you got your main sheet, you can't pull on any more main sheets, just maxed out. And that would be my maximum forestay length. Does that make sense? So you know how you're unclipping your forestay and you're winding it in and winding it out? You know? Just sail upwind and then have a look how much main sheet travel you got, and just keep letting it out until the main sheet's maxed out. You know, and your boom's right down on the deck. You can't go any more than that. That's your maximum length. You know? And that's we were sailing on our boat, we were probably sailing for the most rake in the fleet. But basically the more rake, the faster you go upwind. You know, the drawback of having the rake on the mast is that if you get a gust of wind, the boat's going to want to round up. You know, so it's quite hard to sail it in any sort of breeze with that much rake. So from there, you have to start winding the forestay forward as soon as you get breeze. You know, so you might be able to sail like this one here. You know, it's got 15 mils of rake, so 8085 to 870. So that's 15 turns range that they're running. You know. So if you get your mast rake right back, that gives you the most rake, and then you run 15 turns as the most forward, and that sort of sets you up for where your mast rake should be. And then what you basically do, you run as much rake as you can until the boat starts wiping out upwind. You know, you've got too much helm, then you've got to start pulling the rig forward after that.
Are these runs when you can adjust above the DK for the forestay?
So the forestay, what you got to sail downwind, you got to actually unpin the forestay, you got to unwind it or wind it in, and then you got to pin it back in.
Ours are all fixed and they're below deck, the adjustment.
Yeah, you can't. You want to change that pretty quick.
What's your preferred sailing when it starts gusting 35 knots? Because it sometimes starts out of nowhere before the wind disappears.
So if it's blowing 35 knots?
Blowing 35 knots out there sometimes.
I mean, you're on this 22 plus, you know. So you're basically you're running your forestay as tight as possible. That's going to make the biggest difference. You know, getting your mast forward. So the boat doesn't round up upwind. And then getting your lowers. You obviously want a lot of rig tension. You know, but you want your lowers tighter than your uppers, so that the mast is actually bending like this.
Right.
You know, you can't be too much. You know, I think they say it on. What does it say on here? Just gives you the whole plus or minus, but I think this was like from memory. This might be 22 and this might be 24 on a loose gauge or something like that. Whatever that number means. So your D's, your small ones, are slightly tighter than your things, and that's going to make the most deep power the rig you can get. You know. Right. Yeah. And then you're going to flog your jib out, and but then everything else. Your mast as far forward as you can get.
It gets fun out there when it's blowing 30 knots on an inch.
Yeah. They go pretty well. You're playing downwind. Yeah.
So does he move as the foot of the mast?
Nah. Well, that's the good thing about the Australian setup. They don't move the base.
Yeah.
Because the base is a pain in the ass to move.
Okay.
You know, and we used to move it, and then we just did. When he came out and said he wanted to move the base, we just stopped moving it, and it was a lot easier. But what he does instead of moving the base, and it's also a pain in the ass. You know, you got those chain plates with the holes in them.
Yeah.
He switches the holes. You see the hole 1 to hole 6 and hole 8. And that's really hard to do while you're out there sailing. You've got to have a few spare pins in case you lose one. Yeah. But it does make a difference, yeah. But I mean, if you can follow that, I think that's a pretty good starting point for sure. But you need to be able to adjust your forestay length.
Yeah.
So what it should be is if the boat should come down, you should have it under the deck here, should be a turnbuckle, you know, and then it comes through the deck, and then there'll be a connection here. Does that make sense? Is that what you got?
Yeah.
We've got the
Yeah.
pin, but not the turnbuckle above.
There shouldn't be a turnbuckle above the deck. There should be a turnbuckle below the deck.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you can
we've got
turn
that.
it from-
How do you turn it?
We just take the pin out of here and just turn the wire.
Just turn the wire.
Ah.
Yeah. But what you got to be careful of,
Ours is fixed all the
Oh,
way.
but we've got the. Okay, so you can.
if it is fixed all the way, I doubt it is.
It is.
Because how do you get your forestay off
Yeah.
when you pull your rig
No,
out?
no, definitely. I've been on that boat. It doesn't have
It got redone.
Mm.
Yeah.
At some point.
Simon was doing it the other night.
All you gotta do is chop it here and put two ends on it.
the. Yeah.
You know, and then you just put a pin in the middle. And you just pull it off and you just spin this wire.
So the other thing, Mike was joking before about having the forestay not attached, and that's no joke because we almost went sailing with ours not attached at one point. We didn't end up going out, but how do you? Because it obviously just shook itself loose. There was no lock nut, so if you can't then change your forestay length with a lock nut on.
No, so I mean, we had the same. We came to the bottom mark and we had to go around the bottom mark. And, the fucking forestay. You know, it was also swinging around and we couldn't go around the bottom mark. Basically, you just have a pin through there with a split pin and we just run an insulation tape around it.
No. They come out at the turnbuckle.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a trick as well.
Exactly.
What did I end up doing? I ended up putting in underneath here. I ended up putting like a wire clamp on that, so that because what we were doing is we were winding it back to try and get more rake. Oh, we've wound it off. Can't get any more rake, and we actually ended up putting shackles in here to get enough travel in it to lengthen it to get more rake because we just kept wanting
To
more,
get the
more,
block to
more.
block, yeah.
You know, because everyone's running more and more rake. But what we ended up doing so that we didn't wind it too far off is, well, the first thing you can do is just put a tape mark on it so you know where it is.
Yeah.
But you're not adjusting yours anyway. But
We are now.
We are.
Yeah.
We've set it into base and we've tried to
Yeah.
figure that out.
yeah, well, you need to cut it so you can adjust it because you should be adjusting that between races. I mean, you don't do one race on a,
Yeah.
but I mean every day it should be adjusted. But yeah, just put it like a wire. You know those little wire clamps you can get.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I'm talking about, there's
Yeah,
sort of
little
like
U
that.
thing. Yeah.
You know, just put one under the deck so that when it's right off, it hits the deck, so it won't turn anymore. You know, something simple like that. Yeah.
Well, what's up you doing like a 4-to-1 lock system in there?
The rules.
Don't tell Lee.
That'll be great. Yeah, but you're not allowed to. But, yeah. You're not allowed to adjust this while you're racing. Is the rules. You know, so you can only adjust it between races. You can set it up before you leave the dock. We're changing them in between each race. We'd be changing it. You know, you do that because often when we on the Tuesday nights we'd go out and we'd race and we'd do 3 or 4 races a night, just windward loads. So we go out and do the first race and then you'd be like, oh no, too much helm in that race. We'll just pull the rig forward 3 turns, or you know. So after each race, you can sort of feel what the helm's like. You can change it a little bit. But yeah, so that's probably the biggest thing. And then the detention, you know, just follow that. Moving the hole pins, yeah, that obviously makes a difference. You have ram or chocks?
Yeah, we've got a ram.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, I know he's like push and pull and stuff. We just didn't even bother with that. We just basically, when we're going up when the ram's in, we're going down when the ram's out. You know, or the chocks are in upwind, chocks are out downwind. We really noticed that if you forgot to pull the ram on or you didn't put the chocks in, you were slow. So it makes a difference. Yeah.
I don't think any of our boats have barber haulers, do they? On the
Barber
jib?
haulers?
Yeah, or in haulers on the
So
jib.
you should have on your jib. You should have like a tack that comes down like that.
Oh yeah, no.
And that's probably, I think we used that. We ended up, that'll be one of the main controls you use when you're sailing upwind. So like, you know, you get a gust, you're putting your tack on, and it goes light, you're letting your tack off. You know, you're trimming that quite a bit.
No, I mean on the jib sheet.
Jib sheet. Oh
yeah. No, like.
Yeah, it's one of those things with the jib sheets, and that was, we did it after Ian Murray won that Worlds, is the sheets into here somewhere next to that cubby, and you probably got 4 1/2 tracks, eh?
Yeah.
And everyone's decided to change them around and make them this way, you know, which is a bit of a mission. All I did is, on our boat, I took them off and I put 2 holes like that, and I just ran a bit of dynamo between the 2 holes, and then went to a purchase system underneath the boat, and just put like a ring in it.
Is that in the rules?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you need to recut your jib?
Nah.
Oh,
We never had new jibs. We just use all the old jibs that people gave us. That the top boats keep, you know, they don't use them for one season. Give them to us.
So the Australian setup is an Australian shape jib.
It is, but it worked fine with what we were using. Didn't really. I mean, yeah, technically you should have had the Australian. That's what North South would tell you.
Yeah,
You got to buy a new jib because that's going to change the setup. That worked fine. It just in-hauled it a little bit. How much difference it made? you know, I don't think it's I jumped into another boat that didn't have it and we're still going to the same speed. But it definitely seemed, I liked it better having it in-hauled a little tighter into the boat for sure. I think it gave us a bit better top end, yeah.
So why do they have a tweaker on the jib halyard?
Tweaker on, 2-to-1 on the jib halyard. Why?
Yeah, even more, yeah.
Like when do you use it, you mean, or?
Why do they have it, why do you need to adjust it? Why do you adjust the jib halyard?
Rather than the tack, you mean, or?
Well, a couple of the boats are set up with tweakers on the jib halyard, but mine's not. But it's the application's there if I wanted to put it on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what the last tweaker was for. But somebody said, "Oh, it's a jib halyard." And I go, "Well, why would you need a
Yeah, if you've got the downhaul.
Well, you got the down, but you've only got like, this might give you 50 mils of adjustment, you know, like you've got this much adjustment in the jib tack. It's really that last little bit, and that's a real high purchase. So you're pulling that, you know, I don't know what it is, but say that's a 20-to-1 or something, you know, like you're pulling it this much and it's moving this much, you know, whereas the fine tune on the jib, it's pretty critical to get the jib halyard the right length. This jib halyard, we did a lot of work with some of the other guys in the New Zealand fleet. That jib halyard setting is actually really critical to, because then you're adjusting the luff tension here and we're not adjusting our tracks because we changed these tracks. So the whole leach profile and the luff profile is all actually adjusted to how the jib, I'm probably not really explaining this properly, but you know, normally on a boat you have the tracks fore and aft, you know. Yeah, we're changing the sheeting angle by moving the jib up and down rather than moving the tracks fore and aft, because we want to move our tracks in and out rather than fore and aft. You know, so we pretty much we ended up with our sheeting position fixed inboard, you know, and we didn't really adjust it. Maybe we let it up if we were reaching for some reason, you know, and we adjusted our sheeting angle by moving the jib up and down. But what we ended up doing on our boat is we set it up so it went up through the thing, came down, and it went under the boat. We got a little bit carried away, but we just had it was on a pin, and that was it, you know, and then this had a fine tune on it. Sorry?
So it's always the same, your halyard always...
Yeah, it's critical that your jib halyard always hoists the same point, you know, and you know what it's like when you're sailing downwind because your rig's forward like this, you know, if that's your boat, and you pull your jib halyard up, you got to get the right tension on it, and there's no way of knowing because your rig's so far forward, you know, so you've got to have a really good mark on it, and it's never quite right, so that's why we went to a loop on the jib halyard and a pin that's just set up the same every time. Then we just had a fine tune on here that we adjusted it with, because you adjust it quite a bit because you can move the jib up.
So that you let the tack off and then pull your jib halyard up.
So coming downwind, as soon as we go on the top mark, the jib tack comes off, you know, and we actually made this so it was an automatic release, so that pin just dropped down inside the boat and the jib just fell down. And then you go to the bottom mark, you just pull it up, put it on the pin, then you go around the bottom mark and then you start pulling the jib tack on. So it is critical, yeah, that's what.
Can I ask a question just about that forestay length and like sea powering and wind strength and things? So when was quite a windy night last night, and we put it on more backstay. Was that going upwind? Was that the right thing to be doing? Because
More
it sounds
backstay.
like we would,
Yeah, more backstay,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
But we wouldn't.
Sounds like you
but
should
we
have
would be-
shortened your
if we knew
forestay.
If it was going to be strong winds, we would have shortened our forestay beforehand. Correct?
Yeah, you should always, like, if it's windy, you're always pulling the backstay. It's doing quite different things.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
like if it's windy, your backstay really bends the rig. You know, it's not going to change the rake of the mast, but it's going to bend the rig to depower the mainsail. It's going to flatten the main. Your forestay is going to change the rake of the rig. It's going to change the centre of effort of the boat. So if you have a long forestay, your centre of effort on the boat, on the drawings, your centre of effort on the boat is going to be quite far back. You know, the centre of effort might be here, and the centre of lateral resistance is here, and the boat's going to want to round up all the time, which is really fast in the light. It's really good and fast in the light. And the breezy, not so good. Yeah. But the backstay's not going to change that. Yeah, all the backstay's going to do is flatten the mainsail. I mean, it's going to change the centre of effort slightly, but it's going to make the mainsail nice and flat, which you want to have a lot of backstay on, but you've got to get your rig forward as well.
Because there's one night, Andy, is he still here? No, he was talking about having a lot of lee helm.
Yeah.
which then
Yeah.
198, which of course is the opposite of
Yeah,
that.
it should never have lee helm.
Yeah,
You want to have as much windward helm as you're comfortable having. You know, and the better you get at sailing the boat, the more you can sort of handle. And when I say windward helm, you know, like it's a tight groove, if that makes sense. So if you're really good at sailing and you cruise really good and you're concentrating really hard and it's a relatively steady sort of breeze and you cruise really good on the main shed and on the backstay and you're getting a gust and you're pulling the backstay on before the gust, you can run more rake. But if you're not quite that responsive, if you're not, you're struggling a little bit for the groove, you're going to struggle with the rake and you're going to be winding up all the time and you're going to be slow. You know.
Cool, eh? Yeah.
Oh, what to do?
Bring on
I think
Wednesday.
just start off, just understand the rake and get your forestay right is probably the main thing. And if you've got that, you can sort of play around with the thing. I'd keep it simple. I wouldn't, the holes positions, I wouldn't bother with too much. The ram, I'd say on or off. We ended up adjusting the lowers a lot and not really adjusting the uppers. So we pretty much would set the uppers at maybe 20 and then would adjust the lowers. Like the lowers, if you do a beat up wind and you feel like you haven't got enough power on the boat, let your lowers off and that makes a big difference. You can do that while you're racing. So we'll do that on the downwind, we'll let the lowers back off and then, if you feel like you're overpowered, you can pull the lowers on downwind. As long as you've got the right turnbuckles that you can adjust. Yeah, there's some nice boats up here, isn't there? I think there's a few.
Have you thought about getting one and joining our fleet?
Oh, yeah, I thought about it. I don't have no time.
He's too bloody busy.
Yeah.
Tried to get him over.
Yeah. We might have to just,
Yeah. Irish Crystal's handicap is a very...
Yeah, I can't think of the other thing I noticed that I think when one thing I noticed when I started sailing is that traveller, you've got to run that traveller high all the time pretty much. Like 20 knots, the traveller should be in the centre line. It's got to be like 25, 30 knots before the traveller goes below the centre line. And anything less than that, the traveller's above the centre line. So if your traveller's...
Running the boom over the centre though?
Sorry?
You run the traveller up, but are you running the boom central?
In the centre of the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So that means you've got your vang on hard so that you're not having your boom sky? Or?
We don't really use the vang,
So you allow the boom to come up then because of...
Well, no, because it's all on the main sheet. So the main sheet's pretty much almost block to block the whole time.
so the boom would be above centre.
So the boom can be above centre line.
So you're running the even
If it's like 5 knots of breeze, that's when you're probably you run the traveller. That's the centre line. You run the traveller up here somewhere, and then you'd have it maybe slightly like that, and the boom just above centre line. And then as soon as there's enough breeze for everyone to be on the side, traveller be centre line or just above the centre line, and you'll be block to block on the boom, or pretty tight on the boom. So once it's block to block, the vang's not going to do anything,
So you're pairing
That's a
up
bit
top
different to what I've seen out there.
Yeah.
Hey, I've seen a lot of down travellers.
So you try and sail upwind. If you can sail upwind with the main sheet sort of block to block, and then if you get a gust, you're pulling the backstay on to just twist off the top of the main, and you might have to drop a little bit of main sheet or drop a little bit of traveller initially, and then slowly wind it back up. Because with an Etchell, what you're trying to do is if there's a big gust of wind, obviously you've got to predict it's coming, you're sailing up, and as you hit the wind, in Etchell, you really want to be sailing up into it. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to, they don't really go any faster, but you go a lot higher. So when it first hits, you might be dropping the traveller slightly, you might be cranking a bit of backstay, but then you want to be pulling the boat into it, and then pulling the traveller back up, pulling the backstay back off again, and using that extra pressure to sail a little bit higher. With that.
So you're saying if you're feeling overpowered at 25, you're better to use the backstay to depower than the traveller?
Yeah, backstay's the first thing. Yeah, you should be maxing the backstay out pretty quick. As soon as you're starting to overpower, the backstay's maxed out. Now, I'm assuming you all got fine tune and rough tune on your backstay. Yeah. Like when I was steering, like the skipper should have the backstay. I believe. I mean, when I was saying I had the backstay, I don't know what other people were doing. But yeah, I'd sail along and I'll basically be holding the backstay in one hand, the helm in the other, and and every gust the backstay will be hard on. And that means that the main sheet has to drop the traveller down a little bit, and then just slowly wind it back up. And
Can you remember how much purchase you had on your fines for the backstay? Like, was it an armful that you were doing, and was that enough?
We adjusted it quite a bit actually. We took purchases out, I think, in the end, and it depends how strong you are and what your you know, so I think we dropped it out so that I could get more travel on it, you know, so that when I pulled it, it did more. But we just dropped one purchase out of it, I think. But you just got to set it up to what you feel comfortable with, you know. But you want to have it so when it maxes, the rig's like, you know, really bent, you know.
So you're literally going like gust, pulling on it. Okay, the gust gone, release.
Yeah.
And you're doing that as you're
Every gust.
helming.
Yeah. I mean, you got two hands, right?
It's Nick training. Yeah.
25 knots.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way that we ran it. I think some people say it's different, but you think about it, you got the backstay and the traveller and the main sheet, and between you and the main sheet trimmer, those three have to be adjusted each gust. That makes sense, yeah. So,
We've not been doing. We've been trying.
and then the bowman has to adjust the jib tack and the jib sheet, you know. So, and normally the jib tack's sort of like coming into a gust, you pull the jib tack on a bit, you know, and then you might be cracking the jib sheet a little bit in the gust, and then pulling it back in again. Yeah.
We had this on Tuesday night.
I mean, that's why they're all set up like that, with fine tunes and everything, so it's easy to adjust everything. But yeah, it's sort of like four main controls that have to be adjusted consistently. You know, so yeah. It's probably pretty hard out here because it's quite puffy and shifty. And that's why you might end up with saying, well, we want to go for quite a rough tune on everything, because you guys are sailing out here and it's real shifty and puffy. So when you pull that backstay, you want it to really do something, as opposed to.
The whole strength, and we might need to go to gym and ask.
Yeah, just got to figure out what works. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Well, you
to
should-
say by putting more backstay on that, you're flattening the main.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always find by putting the mast, you're releasing it flattens the main, because you're actually putting more tension on your leech. And the more I pull it back, the more the main bows out.
Yeah.
I'm
Where it's
certainly
twist.
putting
Opens the top, opens the top of the main, right?
Sorry?
It opens the top of the main,
Top.
opens the leech, yeah. And it's got to be done in conjunction with the main sheet as well. You know, so you'll often find when you pull the backstay on, you need to be pulling the main sheet on as well. You know, because as you say, it'll open the leech of the mainsail, to depower you a lot. Yeah.
Well, I've never seen my blocks anything closer than that together, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's worth coming.
So upwind, we didn't start off like that, but towards the end, upwind, like we'll struggle to get under the boom. You know what I mean? Like you want to be. That's in the in the drifting to 5 knots. And then just you'll know that you've got too much, right? Figure out when you've got too much, because you won't be able to steer. You'll be luffing up the whole time, and then just wind it forward from there. You know.
Simon, they're already winning.
All right.
All right. I think